Alright everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, warm welcome. So, in today's video, total cryptocurrency market blues. We're going to be talking about what is going on in the altcoin market. We're going to be talking about what is going on in Bitcoin, what to expect tomorrow with the FOMC meeting. We're also going to be talking about things like the US dollar index. We're going to be talking about the stock market, SPY, NASDAQ, and other tech stocks. And we're going to be talking about how this is all going to wrap up in one neat bow and how this is likely to affect the total cryptocurrency market cap tomorrow. Let's jump right into today's video. So if we start the video right off by heading over to the total altcoin market cap. So this is total 2. This represents what the altcoin market is doing. You can see we are on a massive capitulation to the downside at this moment in time, and I think a lot of people have recently got out of bed because we've been having a bounce for the past couple of days. But on the weekly time frame, you can still see we've been having these wicks to the upside within these downtrends, and it has not allowed the market to subside and start moving to the upside. So why are people getting out of bed at this moment in time? That is a question I cannot ask, because I am unsure why people are getting out of bed for what I perceive to be these dead cat bounces. However, if we do plot the altcoin market cap over the Bitcoin dominance, if you're new to the channel, you might have not seen this been done before. We do this because the altcoin market cap is inversely correlated to the Bitcoin dominance. Why does this make sense? Because, well, when the altcoin market cap is moving up, it probably means that we're in a bull run. I mean, that makes sense, right? The altcoin market cap moves up, we're in a bull run. Altcoins outperform Bitcoin in a bull run. Tons of new altcoins come about. The market cap of altcoins go exceptionally high, and as such, the Bitcoin dominance, which is the percent of the total cryptocurrency market cap, moves down. What happens when the Bitcoin dominance starts to move up? It means that we're shifting into risk off phase. We're shifting into one of bearish sentiment, and as such, this is bear market. The Bitcoin dominance moves up, and this subsequently means Bitcoin outperforms altcoins. And this has stayed true for the past couple of months. We've seen a massive run to the upside in the Bitcoin dominance. We have seen Bitcoin move down, but the altcoin market cap has moved down a lot faster. So I would just like to hammer in, there's really not too much to get out of bed for. Yes, there are a particular subset of altcoins that are having some small bounces, and yes, the Bitcoin dominance has started to come down in the past couple of days. But if you are bearish on the Bitcoin dominance, you should probably zoom out on the chart, because if we do come over to the weekly time frame, you can see we're having a throwback on the weekly, and it is no more than a weekly correction at this moment in time. So for example, if you are getting bearish on the Bitcoin dominance, if you are getting bullish on altcoins, bear in mind we did something exactly like this over here, where we had this mass capitulation. Now, drawing from our last low to the high on the Bitcoin dominance with our Fibonacci's, this orange box is the most important range to hold when you are in an uptrend. This is the range between the 0.5 Fibonacci and the 786. Between these two, between the top of this orange box and the bottom is the 618 Fibonacci, also known as the golden pocket. That's the most important level to hold. And previously, from our low to our high on this micro impulse, the Bitcoin dominance came back down, almost hit the 618. It didn't even have to come down to it, and it started to move back to the upside. So if you are getting bearish on the Bitcoin dominance, you are getting bearish before it has even invalidated its second Fibonacci. We are still above the 0.5 Fibonacci. We are above the 618. We are above the 786. We are, if we switch this over to the dark mode so you can see this better, these green lines over here, let me thicken them up a bit. We have just broken out of this massive bear flag descending channel, whatever you want to call this. This has been and gone now. We were consolidating, and boom, we've absolutely shot to the upside of it. We got rejected at the top of this this resistance over here, and we've started to move back down. In my opinion, it would not be outlandish to expect a drop over the next couple of days down to the 44.42%, and then to start moving back to the upside. This is personally my prediction. I then think that on the next massive leg to the upside, whenever it is, we're going to have a big run up, and we're probably going to bear flag for a couple of months before we move back to the upside. And bear in mind, a lot of people are going to be getting out of bed for this phase when the Bitcoin dominance starts capitulating to the side before it goes up for its next leg. And we do need to recognize these charts are not going to go up in a straight line. It was never realistic, and this was never anything I said on my channel, because you can see I've drawn out something like this to kind of tell you that this can last for months and months on end. In my opinion, we are not going to go up in a straight line. This is never how these markets work. Although, sometimes you can see Bitcoin dominance went down the straight line here, so I've kind of just shot myself in the foot there. But to the upside on the Bitcoin dominance after we enter a bear market, which was, right here, this was the bottom of the bear market. So as you can imagine, moving up to the top of this, if I mark this with a horizontal ray, this was the 10th of December. This was the bear market low for Bitcoin. We took a while, we ran into it, we topped out on the BTC USD chart. Bitcoin went sideways, or the Bitcoin dominance went sideways, and altcoins actually outperformed between September to April. So for example, that was 4, 5, 7 months worth of altcoins just kind of hanging in there and outperforming Bitcoin before, boom, we went down again. Boom, and once again, new all-time high. Bitcoin dominance absolutely wiped the floor and slaughtered altcoins, and it really wasn't the time to buy altcoins until the Bitcoin dominance had a double top. In my opinion, we have not seen that yet. We're not even close to the Bitcoin dominance topping out, so I'd really like to emphasize, if you are getting bullish on altcoins right now, not only are you betting against the Fed, you're betting against the Bitcoin dominance. Now we're going to move over into the Fed. So the next FOMC meeting is tomorrow, and I'm literally going to spend 10-15 seconds on this segment, because I did just make a separate video about what to expect tomorrow for the FOMC meeting. So if you want my full thoughts, go check it out. In my opinion, we should be expecting a 75% basis point increase. Now, this FOMC meeting is going to be coming in the next 21 hours. If you want to know why I'm expecting such a big rise in the interest rates, then go check out my previous video. But as you can see, this was the last FOMC meeting, the 4th of May. We basically dropped 47.5% from the previous FOMC meeting until this FOMC meeting. So you can imagine, if we do have a 75 basis point increase, the Bitcoin could be absolutely slaughtered. Now, if we come over to some of our more macro charts for Bitcoin, if we look at the Elliott waves, you can see, the C wave of the Elliott wave, we've got our, if we zoom out, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave, and then we should be having a big A, B, C correction at this moment in time. If we zoom into the lower time frames, on the bearish impulse to the downside, we are expecting a 5-wave correction, and as such, you can see we've had our 1 impulse, our 3 impulse, in our 1, 2, 3, 4, but we are currently in that 5-wave at this moment in time. And yes, I'm not saying that because we are in this 5-wave that the bottom is like right here and we should expect it within the next couple of days. Technically, according to Elliott wave theory, we should be bottoming between the 3-wave and the 1-wave, and the 1-wave is all the way down here at 14,000. So while I personally don't think that we would be moving down to 14,000, I wouldn't be surprised if we came down to 16,000. Or if we head over to some of our other charts, if we come over to the CME gaps, I wouldn't be surprised if we filled, you can't see it on the weekly, if we filled this CME gap from all the way back here at 18,500. So with that being said, we've talked about what to expect tomorrow with the FOMC meeting. We've talked about the altcoins. You can see a lot of people are getting out of bed for this bounce on particular altcoins. But not even on the daily time frame, altcoins are bouncing. So yes, the Bitcoin dominance is going down very, very momentarily, in my opinion, but we should not be exceptionally bullish on altcoins until the Fed pivots. Now, I talked about that in my last video. I probably will upload that. I'm going to upload these 2 videos. It doesn't really matter what order, but nonetheless, I will be uploading this FOMC meeting as well. So if you want my full thoughts, go check that out. But let's move over onto the stock market segment now. As you can imagine, the crypto markets, Bitcoin, altcoins, they are inversely correlated to the US dollar index, and the stock market is normally inversely correlated to the dollar. We are generalizing here, but nonetheless, within recent terms, you can see the SPY has been massively capitulating since the last Fed meeting, and the dollar has been running to the upside. If we look at the daily, this is the daily time frame. I thought this was the weekly time frame for a second, because we've just been going up in a straight line with no stop, and that should probably tell you something. The dollar at this moment in time is exceptionally bullish, and a lot of people, tons of crypto influence That's such a mouthful. Give me 1 second. A ton of crypto influencers have been saying, when we came down here on the 30th of May, the dollar has topped. Everyone was saying the dollar's topped, Bitcoin is now going to the moon. And if you're a veteran to my channel, you know that we were saying do not count the dollar out until it is all said and done, because we highlighted this. We said we have seen this before, and the dollar came up and rebounded another 9%, representing a 3% increase from the previous top. Now, if we come over and plot a 3% increase from the previous top that we have topped out on the dollar, you can expect this to maybe go up to 108 before we start to see this subside. Now, from the bottom, about that 8% move could potentially really bring us, I mean, this would be just over an 8%, but this could really bring us up to potentially 110. And if you do see the dollar go on this massive rampage, then this is going to absolutely backhand the altcoin market, and this is obviously going to slap Bitcoin in the face as well. But you know, it's going to slap Bitcoin in the face, but the altcoins are going to get absolutely bomber-clattered. So with that being said, if we move over into the stock market, which once again we are generalizing, but this is typically inversely correlated with the dollar, you can see tons of selling volume coming in. We are having a shift over into the bearish phase, and I probably should have mentioned as well, I do believe I mentioned this, but maybe I didn't. Let me mention it now, that the dollar has just started ticking over into light green, indicative that once again the dollar is about to see a massive rampage to the upside. So if you are buying the dip, well, quote unquote buying the dip right now, if you are buying altcoins, the bottom is probably not in, and I've been saying this, you know, for quite a while now, but if you are buying altcoins, if you are buying the dip on alts, then you are betting against the Fed, because at this moment in time, the Fed is very hawkish, and they do keep on increasing the interest rates, and I do believe they are going to keep on increasing them month over month over month, and until they flop, until they start to subside and start to backpedal and decrease the interest rates, or remain or keep the interest rates the same, then in my opinion the bottom is not in, and we should not be DCAing. Take this from someone who survived the 2018 bear market. I DCA'd altcoins on the way down, and I got absolutely slaughtered. If you go back to what happened in 2018, let's just look at it specifically for some of the altcoins that I personally was looking at back here. For example, we don't have that much data traded over on ADA. If we come back to Ethereum, you can really see, I mean, there was not a right time to DCA this from $1,400 all the way down here to $80. Even if you had such a keen eye at spotting local bottoms, and you were convinced this was the bottom, or this was the bottom, or this was the bottom, you know, we're not even going to talk about, you know, like buying the dip here. We're going to be talking about if you bought the exact local bottoms, you still would have got absolutely wrecked from $1,400. Now you might be wondering, you know, surely I only have one opportunity to buy the bottom after Bitcoin bottoms, isn't that right? Well, no, that's not correct. If you do look at the data, once again, we recognize this date because this is the 10th of December 2018. Altcoins literally bled against Bitcoin for years. If we go like this, well, you know, not years, maybe I'm exaggerating a tiny bit, but 455 days is how long Ethereum bled against Bitcoin. At any point in this phase, you know, you could have bought Ethereum for much cheaper than the people who were buying this dip at this point. And yes, we did see a massive bounce at some period in time, and this did happen in a lot of the altcoins. You know, even the shitcoins like XRP saw their day in the sun. XRP only really had a bounce for a couple of weeks, I think. If we come back to the greatest shitcoin of all time and plot Bitcoin's bottom, December 10th, 2018. Oh, no, I missed it out by 1 week. And I was exaggerating as well. XRP didn't see more than a 1 week pump against Bitcoin before it started to once again capitulate. And yes, we saw another dead cat bounce, but then we moved down, and it hasn't even been performed. It's literally back down to where it was in December 2018. So, you know, this has been the bear market forever. Tons of these altcoins, they are going to get massively capitulated if the FOMC meeting tomorrow is going to be bearish. Now, once again, how does this correlate to the stock market? If the FOMC meeting does come into fruition and they do increase the interest rates, the dollar is likely to take a massive, massive leg to the upside. With this happening, the SPY, the stock market, you know, the Nasdaq, which is also massively capitulating, these are all going to go for their next leg to the downside. So a lot of people need to look at these charts. If you are buying right now, you know, you are catching a falling knife. And once again, I really do say this for your benefit. I could have just titled this video, you know, Bitcoin bottom in, question mark, put a ton of alert symbols, put rocket emojis and pulled a stupid face and said the bottom is in, now is the time to buy. It would have got 10 times the amount of views, but the fact is the integrity of this channel matters much more to me. And from someone who experienced the 2018 bear market, I can categorically tell you that this is not the bottom. Until the Fed starts backpedaling, then altcoins are going to go lower. While the Bitcoin dominance is heading up in the macro time frame, it is not the time to buy altcoins. I can't emphasize that enough. I am trying to save you from experiencing the pain that I experienced in 2018. And you can listen to my, you can listen to my plea, or you can go and find out yourself. I do wish you the best whatever you do, but I am telling you, if you are buying altcoins right now, take a screenshot of this video, save it in favorites if you're on your iPhone so you can reference it back later, and look back to this video in a couple of months until the Fed pivots. You know, for example, let's say hypothetically the Fed tomorrow says, you know what, we can't do this anymore, we can't raise the interest rates, we're going to decrease the interest rates. That is the time to be bullish. Until that happens, the bottom is not in. So, you know, once again, how does this correlate to the stock market? Tomorrow, if the FOMC does come into fruition and they do have their interest rate hike, which I'm currently predicting to be a 75 basis increase, you're going to see the dollar go on a rally. You're going to see the stock market continue to massively capitulate, and because of that, if we head over to our macro charts, we're very likely to see the Bitcoin dominance start to head up. We're very, very likely to see the total crypto market cap massively capitulate to the downside, and as such we are going to be experiencing total cryptocurrency market blues with both Bitcoin and the stock market and the altcoins massively capitulating within the next couple of days. So as always, that is all I've got for you today, my friends. Let me just spend maybe one second or so going through how some of these tech stocks are looking as well, because it is not just cryptocurrencies that are taking a massive tear to the downside right now. You can see Tesla. You know, if we come over to the SPX, we already talked about the Nasdaq, Google, Facebook massively capitulating, Coinbase breaking down to new lows basically every single week, which is pretty brutal. The Airbnb stock, wow, since we last checked out this has massively moved to the downside. So Apple as well, massively capitulating, and a lot of the time we do have these mass capitulations over in the stock market, but the stock market is normally the first one to bounce, and at this moment in time the stock market is still heading down. So until you see the stock market bounce, until you see the Bitcoin dominance start to macro head to the downside, and until the Fed starts to backpedal, the bottom is not in. I wish you the best of luck whatever you're doing. That is all I've got for you today. I hope you enjoyed today's content. As always, cowboy out. Peace.